Hiya, it's Amanda here from Lolli Lulu Crafts, and today I have a project that I am making for you in my official capacity as a tattered lace blogger, and we're going to be making a project using these stunning trio dies down here from Tattered Lace, and I'm really excited. I can't wait to get using them. They look so cool. I'm really looking forward to having a go with these. So with no further ado, let's get cracking with our project. So the first thing I've done is I've made my card base, and I've made this using my easy peasy card method. And if you want to know how to do that, I will put the video with the corresponding blog post to this video. And I have made it as an 8" by 8" card, and I'm using this beautiful pearlescent cardstock. So before we start on the front, there's just one thing I want to do. I wanted to just make a little something fancier on the inside, and I think it would look even nicer if I added this beautiful insert that I made. And I made this using my foiling machine, and for details and a video on how I made it, then again click on the link to the blog post. And I think it just looks really gorgeous, and I think it just brings a bit of luxury and opulence to the card, and it's got this beautiful pearlescence to it as well. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bit of tape across the top here, and I'm just going to use double-sided tape, and then I'm going to stick it down on the top edge so it's like a little flap. There we go. So that's our insert added. So then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make use of this, another piece of this beautiful cardstock, and I have cut this to 5 1/4 by 7 3/4. So we need to now take my little dome, and I'm actually going to turn this card to the wrong side, and I'm going to put my dome into the center now. So at this point we're just going to go by eye to get it in the center, and then I'm going to draw around it. So there we have our oval drawn in. We now need to cut this out because we're creating an aperture in our card. Now there are several ways you could do that. You could do that by hand, by using just your craft knife and just going very slowly, very gently round with your craft knife. You could use your silhouette machine or equivalent. You could also use a die. Now I think a die is more likely to work if you've got your square, oblong or your circle, because they're very precise shapes. An oval can be slightly more unique because it could be a narrow oval or a fatter oval, so you might not always get exactly the right shape. But if you've got a die that fits your little dome perfectly, then great. However, whichever option you go for, you basically at this point you need to cut your aperture. Okay, so I'm going to go off and cut this aperture out using my silhouette and the Pixscan mat. And if you want to see how I did that, then again just click on the corresponding blog post and it will have information and a video on how I did that. Okay, so I'll be back in a minute when that's all cut out. Okay, so there it is all cut out, and I think that looks lovely. I'm really pleased with that, and it fits nice and snugly over our dome as well. And you've got the little flap just sitting behind nicely, so pleased with that. So for the moment we need to pop this to one side, and we need to get our die cutting machine and start die cutting. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to cut is this lovely doily flourish, and I'm going to cut all of my elements using this beautiful pearlescent paper. Now this is the same paper as we used for our inserts, and it matches perfectly with the cardstock, so that's going to be really pretty. So we're going to take my magnetic plate, my acrylic mat piece of paper, my doily flourish die and my other acrylic plate, and then we just pop that through. Okay, so then we're going to take our top mat off and then prise that off our magnetic plate and take off our die, and you can see it's cut through beautifully. So then we're just going to get rid of all the little bits. I just want to peel that off, And then as you can see, the little pieces are coming out quite nicely. So I'm just going to gently rub this with my fingers, get the little pieces out, and then I will show you when that's done. Okay, so there it is, all cleaned up, and it didn't take much effort at all because it was all popped out nicely. We'll show you what I'm going to do with that in a bit, so for the moment I'm going to put that to one side. So next I've got 3 little squares of the cardstock, and I've cut them 2.5 by 2.5, and what I'm going to do is take the embossing folders from one from each, so each one from this set, and pop them through. So I'm going to do them one at a time. So I'll do the first one and show you, and then the other 2 I'll do and then show you at the end. So let's just show you how this goes. It's really nice. So I can't use my magnetic plate for this because you can't emboss you. So I'm going to pop that through, and then I'm going to put my acrylic plate. I've got my embossing folder, and this one is from Kathleen. So it's a beautiful pattern, and the nice thing about this is that with the pearlescent cardstock you're going to really see the embossing, because pearlescent card really emphasizes that a lot. So then I'm going to put my cardstock in. I want to make sure it's central, and I also want to make sure that the pearlescent, so right side, is up. So I'll just pop that in place, and so pop that in there. I'm going to keep hold of that because I don't want it to move before I put my plate down, and then just run that through my machine, and pop that out. So you just go through once, which obviously when I'm on the camera is a little bit more difficult because I knock everything over. Okay, and then here is our beautiful. So I'm going to emboss the other 2, and then I will show you what they look like. Okay, so here are the other 2 pieces. Aren't they stunning? Beautiful. And look at that pearlescence. And this one, I think this one might be my favourite. I love how that's turned out. So that's all 3 little blocks, and again put these to one side because we don't need those right now. So at the moment what we're doing is just prepping all our elements, and then what we'll do is we're going to put all those elements together to make our card. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is cut my flowers. So I've got here my magnetic plate, again my acrylic plate, then I'm going to put my piece of paper because I'm going to cut my flowers using my pearlescent paper again. And then the first flowers I'm going to cut is Christine. So I've got the big flower. I'm just going to pop that down in the corner here. And then I'm going to get the next one. So you can create some really nice little layers on here. I'll put that one next to it. And then the little baby one. Well, I say baby, they're still a nice size. And then just pop that one down there. Now since we've got the space, we may as well fill it up. Okay, so I don't think that could have been tighter if it tried, but we've got them all on. And then we'll just pop that on the top, and we will wind it through. Now they're sticking slightly to the acrylic mat because they have got still some of the stickiness from the new packaging. But there we go. Isn't that gorgeous? Okay, so I'll pop all these out and then I'll show you. Okay, so here's all my flowers cut out, and I've got quite a few there because I'm going to layer them up, but I think they look really, really nice. I'm pleased with those. So the next step is to emboss the flowers. So I want to actually use the embossing folder that goes with the dies, but you can actually mix and match. So I've got Kathleen here and the embossing folder, so I'm going to grab Kathleen's die cuts. Now I've got a couple here and I'm going to put them through at the same time because they are paper, and I think, you know, it's thin enough that we can get away with that. So I've put 2 layers because that's the same size, so I've put 2 through there, and I've got my extender platform on and it's at tab 1. Then I've got an acrylic mat and then my embossing folder and then another acrylic mat, and just run that through. Like so, and then just push that over so I can open it for you. And here we are. So there's our flowers embossed. Now they might take a second to peel away because they've been embossed in together. There we go. And that went through perfectly on 2, look, and you could easily get more than that on there, I'm quite sure, if you're using paper. But look how amazing, doesn't that look gorgeous? And the pearl on here really makes that stand out. And I just wanted to show you this one that I'm doing because I've actually put 5 layers of paper through on this, and you can see that each layer is just embossed beautifully. So the embossing is so beautifully deep. And this is Christine, all embossed. Isn't that beautiful? And finally, here is Kirsty. And again, isn't that gorgeous? So we've used all the different flowers. We just on the Kirsty though, we didn't use the largest die, but otherwise we've used every single element. So now we need to start putting our flowers together to make a whole flower. Okay, so here's one of the flowers that we want to construct. So we've got a few layers here. So what I did was I took one of the large ones, 2 of the middle ones and 1 of the smaller layers. But the first thing I'm going to do is just very lightly just curve the edge. Now just be very careful because this is paper, and also you don't want to get rid of all your lovely embossing. So I'm just very lightly just curling those edges, and hopefully you can just see that. So you've got that one as opposed to say that one, look. So that's all the layers with their curls on, as it were. Now I'm going to get my glue gel and I'm just going to pop a little piece in the centre. Now I think the easiest way to do this is just to get my little pokey tool and hold with one hand and put the glue in with the other. Otherwise you end up covered in glue. And then I want it offset from the one underneath, so the little petals are just popping through the gaps. There we go. And then next layer. So just a small amount of glue, you don't need very much. And again, just offsetting it because this one's the same size, so like so. What I'm doing is I'm pushing it down in the centre, so that makes it really like a water fountain, you know, come up from the edges, so it gives a really nice shape to the flower. And then the last one, you see already I've got bored with using the tool and I've just gone straight in, and again just offsetting it. And then just to show you what that looks like so far, doesn't that look so pretty? And you can see all that beautiful pearlescence, and the embossing is really being picked up. And then what I want to do is get little pearls, and I'm sticking with the white theme because I think that that just is so elegant, just keeping it all the white. And I meant to put a tiny bit of the glue gel in the centre here just to stick my pearls to. You don't need much, just a really thin layer. And you know, the pearls are self-adhesive, but I always like to add a little bit of glue because I think it really then holds them in place. Okay, so that's our first flower completed, so we're going to pop him to one side. So the next flower we've got is this gorgeous sort of cornflower, and I've got 2 large layers, 1 medium and 1 small, and all I'm going to do for this is just grab the center of my palm of my hand rather, and the tool just gently rubbing to create like a point in the center, or you could just use the knuckle like this, because all you want to do is have those flowers petals coming up towards the middle of your flower there, so it's sort of popping up like that. I'm just squidging them a little bit more because I really want them to be standing up, so I'm just almost making a point at the bottom of our flower base there, just so that they really stand up like so. Okay, so we're just going to take the first one and add a drop of our glue gel, and then offsetting the second one off the first one like so, and then taking the next layer and putting a bit of glue gel in the center, and taking that it's just so pretty, isn't that gorgeous? And then there, another bit of glue, and it's kind of weird, you kind of squish it up and then open it out again, but it does work. It looks so effective. Isn't that so pretty? Look, and you can see what I mean now by pulling them up. It really makes it. And then again, when we're finishing here, just pop that like that, so you get that kind of pushing that down so that the leaves stand up or the petals stand up, and it just gives such a pretty effect. And then again, I'm just going to add a tiny bit of glue gel in the center there, and this one I think only needs 1 pearl, so just gonna pop that into the center of our beautiful little flower. And doesn't that look absolutely stunning? I love that. So I'm going to pop that to one side, so let that dry. So I've got another one of these. This is just a slightly smaller one because I've started with a medium layer. So there's that one. I'm just trying to bring those up a little bit more. There we go. So again, let's leave that to go and dry. And then we've got this one, and this was the same as this one, but just 2 layers and smaller. Okay, so I just pulled the inner petals up. It almost looks like a little water lily, I thought, and I think it just gives a different style, so it looks like we've got another flower, which is really nice. So I thought that would be fun. So again, I'm going to pop that over to one side and let that dry. So we've just got 2 layers of this flower, and I just want to literally just curl it under like so. Just a really simple, and then just pop that center like that, so it really gives a nice curve to those little petals. And then I want to leave the underneath one flat, so I'm just going to take my glue, put some in the center there. That was much more than I was wanting to do. Okay, and then we're going to pop this one, again offsetting it to the petals underneath like so. And then we're going to take this one here. I'm not going to do anything to it other than just lift it up, so we're just going to give it a bit of height, and then popping that in the center like so. And the only other thing of course is to put a pearl. So we've got a big pearl in the center and then some little pearls around the edge. So Okay, so there's all our flowers made. So now we need to pop these to one side just while they start to set a little bit. They won't take very long, and then we can, in the meantime, we'll start putting the card together. Okay, so do you remember us cutting this little doily out? Well, what I want to do with that is create 4 corner pieces. So instead of getting a corner die, I am literally just going to cut it so that each side will be a right angle. So I'm going to take this and very carefully just cut along a center line, which you can see because of the pattern. Okay, so there is 4 corners. So you're going to pop those to one side. Okay, so now we've got this piece here and we've got our bubble. So we're going to now stick our bubble into our piece of card here. Okay, so all we need to do is just get a little bit of glue gel and very gently pop it on this lip all around the edge of our bubble. So I'm literally going on the very edge. Okay, so I've put the glue gel all around my bubble. Okay, so now all we need to do is very carefully and pop that over the top of our bubble and just push it down onto the glue. Okay, so now obviously again this piece has to be set aside to dry, so make sure it's absolutely firmly stuck in place. Okay, so that's the final piece of prep done. Our bubble is all set. So now we just need to start bringing all these elements together and constructing our card. So let's bring back our card base. So now what I want to do is I want to draw the position of my aperture using a pencil so that I know where this is going to sit. So we'll just very lightly, like so, there we go. So that's that done, that's good. And before we put our flowers in though, what I want to do is add our little squares to the side here. Okay, so now we need to put some tape on these and stick these 3 down. So let's get, and I'm going to use the tape because it's embossed. It is very slightly wobbly, and I was thinking the tape might just hold that flat. So let's turn it over and pop some tape on all 3 and then stick it down. Okay, so that's all 3 with their tape on. So this is just double-sided tape. So, yeah, so that lines up with the top, that lines up with the bottom, and then a nice even gap both sides. There we go. And then we're going to do the bottom one. Okay. So just kind of pushing that across so we don't get any bubbles in the middle of our square, because what happens is the embossing kind of distorts the card, as you can see, which is why I use tape, because if I used any wet glue or anything, it's not strong enough to instantly hold it down, and you need that to stop that distortion. Okay, so then the 3rd one, just putting it even space between these 2 and making sure that the gap on the side is the same. There we go. How nice does that look? Aren't they beautiful? So now just pop that over to one side a minute. I seem to always do saying that these. And then I'm going to get my 4 little corners, and these are going to be sitting in the corner on our bubble piece. And I'm going to put a bit of my Cosmic Shimmer down like that, and just gently press that into the glue so that I get glue on all parts of the back of my little piece of doily. And then very gently stick this in the corner. And the beauty of using a circle is that you've got a perfect right angle, assuming you cut it correctly, which with this particular one would be pretty hard not to be honest. And let me show you that, because it's so pretty. I'm hoping you can catch it. White on white is not always the best. There we go. But isn't that beautiful? And it just, tone on tone, always looks so nice. Okay, so that's all 4 corners done. Doesn't it look gorgeous? So elegant. And I love that tone on tone. Okay, so I've got my flowers here, and I'm just going to position those following. Yeah, I think that looks good. Okay, so carefully take the dome piece off, and then I'm going to stick these down in position using my trusty pin flare glue. So I'm going to start with this one because that's the harder one to do. And then the beauty with the pin flare is I've got a bit of time, so if I don't get it exactly correct, we're going to be okay, because I can fiddle around. As long as I put it down reasonably quickly, I can then fiddle around with the position of them very slightly. And the last one. Okay, now just really quickly, oops, wrong way up, pop the little dome down so we can see if they are sitting in the right place, and I think that's pretty darn perfect. Okay, so before I put the dome on, I just want to add a little bit of stickles. This is, oh, icicle. So I just want to add a tiny bit on the petals here, just to make it look really pretty. So let me just show you how pretty that looks. Isn't that gorgeous? Okay, and then just very carefully we're going to add our dome. That's going to look gorgeous. Okay. Okay, so just pop that over there, and then for my attaching my dome to my card, I'm going to use my glue gel because it's really strong and we know it's going to hold in place. So I'm just going to add, I'm not trying to get height, and I don't want to get so close to the dome that we squash the glue gel over. And then just picking that up, moving that over, and then very gently making sure there's nothing on there that we don't want, and otherwise very gently placing that down, making sure that the flowers that are going to get squashed are getting squashed how we want them to be. There we go. And then just pushing it down into place. Okay, so as a final touch, I just added a couple of pearls in the corners on our little corner die cuts there, and then hopefully you can see I've added some stickles just kind of radiating out as the embossing is so on there, and then some pearls in the center of that one, and again the stickles just radiating out on there. And I think that brings in all the elements that are in here and just evens that out and balances that really well on the card. So that is our finished card for today. So I hope you've enjoyed making this card. I hope you've enjoyed having a look at the trio dies. Now I know I only use them as a duo die because I only use the die cutting and the embossing, but if you want to see a full kind of how to just on the trio dies, I'll be doing a video on that later in the month. Okay, so as I say, I hope you've enjoyed making this card with me. I really like how it's turned out. I'm really pleased with the finished result, so I hope you like it as much as I do. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now. Bye.
This flower's blooming all the same. The grass gets greener every day in our place. I'll visit every Wednesday. Our imaginary hey boy, we'll see you soon. Miles scatter all but me and you. Time whispers into my ear and overwhelms petty fears. He speaks so sweet, he says, you'll get days that equal years. Travel back to Navy Pier, won't we, dear? Everywhere that you dare.